Hello, my name is Michael Riordan, and today I am going to discuss the power that carbon-based energies like coal and oil have on society. Specifically, how democracy actually depends on socio-material arrangements, the role of technology in shaping societies, and the role of society in shaping technology. This is all influenced by Timothy Mitchell's article, Carbon Democracy, in which he showed the larger socio-economic struggle between oil producers and laborers. Before the world depended on carbon energy, sunlight, timber, and other natural resources were widely used, but most of these were easily exhausted and were not sufficient to sustain large populations. However, after a cultural shift away from being serf peoples in England, larger towns started to develop, and within these towns, the bourgeoisie people began to work in factories, where machines became too large to be powered by hand. Hence, the steam engine was developed, not just because the technology allowed it, but because the wealthy needed it now that society was concentrated to a place where the potential profits warranted the investment into new technology. The use of coal introduced concentrated energy in two ways. Coal was a powerful resource able to be stored in much smaller and more manageable quantities, and it also allowed the bourgeoisie people and workers to be concentrated into smaller areas, creating the birth of the large cities that we can picture today. However, as these cities began to emerge and carbon controllers became more powerful, the working class people who were concentrated together realized they held the power to strike in order to accomplish their own societal goals. In fact, coal workers strike 3 times as often as any other industry. Coal workers striked over things such as labor reform in Germany, health and safety conditions in France, and minimum wage in Britain. Coal was introduced as an energy source not only because the technology became available, but because it allowed for much greater profits, so infrastructure was created for its excavation, transportation, and use. But as the working class people became more controlling of these systems, the world's elite became aware of another source of energy, and the technology to harness it was also already in existence. Oil was a much easier source of energy to extract and transport, and it required many fewer people to do these processes. Therefore, the oil-producing countries began the global shift towards crude oil production and consumption. Just as with coal, however, they also needed to create enough need for it to qualify their investments. Oil producers needed refineries, mills, pumps, and many other expensive pieces of equipment. So to ensure demand, they created what's called a forced dependency. For instance, they persuaded American auto manufacturers to continue to use the V8 engine instead of the more efficient 4-cylinder engines, solely to keep Americans dependent and demanding oil. It went so far as to make the gas-guzzling V8 an American icon and a staple of American engineering. These petroleum-based products were strategically introduced so that the world's people needed more oil. The demand justified the large investment away from coal and cemented oil's place as an energy source. This control over oil again has resulted in many disputes between the controllers and the laborers involved in the production process, from pipeline blockades to strikes and even violent outbreaks. As this rich and powerful society tries to control the people with their control of oil, society strikes back with their control of the necessary labor, reforming the cycle that befell coal only a few generations earlier, and it still plagues the energy community to this day. To summarize, the technology for producing and using each of these carbon energies was inevitably going to be invented. However, they were only adopted after the ability to control and create value in these resources was realized. Social determinism created the immense value that coal and oil have today as the world's populations became dependent upon them. It is only through the control of labor, which the oil producers were also dependent on, were the working class, the bourgeoisie, able to take back some control. Technology has influenced society's adoptions of new forms of energy, but it was truly society's dependence on energy which influenced the creation of each of these new forms of technology. Thank you.